How do I engage my group more? Part 5. Hi, I'm Louise from OTGrow, and welcome to our YouTube channel. So this is the place to be if you're passionate about groups or group therapy is a calling, and you would like some tools, tips, and techniques on how to become more effective in your facilitation of groups. So we are busy with part 5 of our series on how do I engage my groups more. So it's one of the questions I'm asked most often at our workshops. And I decided to put some tips together so that you can, by doing something small, have a really big impact on your group. And you will notice from day one about changing and implementing these tips, how your groups become more engaged. All right, so let's go to part 5. So part 5 is listening to the group's needs or the group's voice. So one of the powerful things about the interactive group model is the assumption, or the principle at least, that we're always following the group process. We are listening to the needs of individuals in a group as well as the group's needs. And those needs then in turn informs the group goals that we will choose for the next day and the next day. So it's always a very lively and dynamic process where the group shows the needs and the facilitator then provides opportunities for those needs to be explored. That's when you get your group really engaging. There's nothing more off-putting than if a group kind of tells what they'd want and the therapist or the facilitator says, no, you know what? There's no time now, or it's not really on your program, or we don't really offer anything around that. And arguing or ignoring what the clients are saying, that will create the circumstances for your group members to engage. Because why must they come to the group? You as a therapist or a facilitator sending the message, I'm in control, I'll tell you what you need. And that is really off-putting for clients, and they will disengage because maybe what you have to offer is something that I don't even think I have a problem with. So why would I engage in this topic or this theme when I don't even think I have a problem with it? Or it's still so far advanced and outside my scope of thinking, so far in the future, that I'm not engaged with this at this very moment. All right, so it's important then for us as group facilitators, if we want our group to be engaged, we have to tune in our ear to listen to the group's needs, or what we call the group's voice. So I'd like to give you 2 examples. So maybe yesterday in the group, you've ended your group and the group kind of came to the conclusion, but today they would like to discuss vulnerability or grieving. And in the meantime, on their way to group, there was a massive conflict, either in the dining hall or somewhere, and the group members come and they really are upset. For me now to say, you know what, we're going to put all of the conflict and the emotions you have aside. You said we're going to do vulnerability. Come, we're going to do vulnerability. Do you think the group is going to be engaged on that topic? No, they are still so angry, and here I want them to be vulnerable and to go deeper. There's no way they're going to do it. Most likely, you're going to see a lot of passive aggressive behavior because this is so far from their frame of reference at the moment. And so we would do well as therapists or facilitators at that stage to say, you know, we did plan this, but I see nobody in the group is there. What would you like? What is going to really address a need you have now? Is it about talking about it? Do you want to express your emotions? Do you want to talk about anger? So what are your needs? And then let's address those needs in this group. So that's one example. I'd like to also give you another example of a social cohesion group that we facilitated in Worcester. And so we asked, using a psychodrama technique, we asked the group members to build Worcester. And they came out with a very negative view of Worcester. And so I wanted them to take this view of the present of Worcester and move into, so what Worcester do I want? How would I like Worcester to be? And to kind of go for the vision in the future. And then a group member stopped me and she started telling this long, elaborate story about a gang member and the past that he had. And what was noticeable was how attentive and engrossed the group was to her telling the story. And I realized, but she is the voice of the group in this moment. And they then kind of said, all agreed in the group, but you know what? We can't go to the future until we have a very good idea of why are we here? How did we get to be in the present? And by needing to go back in the past is where they thought they would find the insights they needed. Now, if I was the group facilitator that said, you know what, there isn't time, we got to focus on the future because that's where we're going with this. It doesn't matter what happened in your past. I would have lost the group members. They would have disengaged and they've just gone through the motions as I requested. But I allowed them because it was the need of this group to go and build their past. And it was a fascinating process. They came to incredible insights. And after they were able to visit the past, the future fell into place, literally fell into place very quickly. It was like something needed to be resolved, some insight needed to be gained through the process of sculpting their past. And so again, just to say, if we go with what we want as therapists, we miss the voice and the needs of the group, where often the wisdom of the group tells them where they should go. And we then oppose that by trying to follow our own agendas. So it's to listen to the group's voice. All right, so you might ask, okay, give me some very practical ways in which I can really listen to the group's voice and needs. All right, so I gave you an example now of the social cohesion group in Worcester. So listening when one or two group members will say something and everybody in the group is engrossed in that story. They're nodding their head, nobody's interrupting. They are so focused. Then you almost know that this is very likely that the person speaking is speaking and giving the group's need a voice. They are the person who is bringing into awareness of the group facilitator a need that is happening in the group. And so to listen to that and to then follow it. But it's important to see that everybody's engrossed and everybody's engaged. Otherwise, it becomes just an individual's need. So having a look at that. Or the other way is to see whenever somebody participates in the discussion, post-activity or in the bridging discussion, the same kind of theme keeps popping up with different examples that the group members use, or in different words, but it's all around the same theme. Then you also know this is a theme that the group is possibly wanting to explore or is wrestling with on a deeper level. So that's how we listen to the group's voice. Other ways that we can listen and respond to the group's needs is we can say to the group after our discussion today, I can hear we can either explore grieving tomorrow or trusting yourself. Which one of the two would you like us to address? And then by consensus, the group will decide. And it might take a while. They might be split down the middle for which theme they want. And it's important that they resolve it and tell you at the end of the day what their choice is. And then tomorrow you will come into the group creating opportunities that would become your goal then for that group. So that's another way. Another way is to listen to words that are used. And again, how frequently are those words used? I was facilitating a group process last week, and it was fascinating that the bittersweet word came up in different forms and in different ways throughout the discussion. And then people would explain about fun, and then they would explain about sadness. And it felt like we almost had this dichotomy, this polarization of ideas. And so at the end, for the closure of the group, I then asked each group member to choose one of a dichotomy or a polarization, which they said that they felt was quite hard to hold. And of course, the bittersweet, but we had some great ideas that the group members offered, one of them being fun and frustration, and how we can hold both those polarities. But what was fascinating is because that word was so in tune with the needs of the group members, within just that closure, something deeper was resolved in the group, which was incredible. All right, lastly is to give the group options. So what you can do, for instance, maybe the group has been struggling or wrestling with something and they come to some other resolution at the end. And then to say to group members, okay, great. I wonder, how do you want to celebrate this moment? Or how do you want to anchor this incredibly deep insight the group has come to? And to offer it back to the group members so that they can make something from that. And again, we're trusting the group, and they are saying how they want to hold this new insight. Again, just to say, sometimes we underestimate our group members, and by giving them the options, I had one group who decided at the end they wanted to go around and with the Greatest Showman song, "This Is Me, No Apologies," they went around the group and looked each person in the eye and said, "This is me, no apologies." One by one, each group member had a turn to say that phrase to each other group member as well. And the emotions that it evoked was so sacred, so beautiful, so strong. People that were on opposite sides of the political spectrum could almost see and give each other permission to be them. No apologies. And it was incredibly powerful. But again, if I had chosen something, I would never have chosen that. And by the group being allowed to voice their need or to have an option in how they want to resolve or how they want to bring something together, it was so much more powerful. And I can promise you the group members were deeply engaged. All right, I hope that gives you some ideas and some tips on how to go about listening to the group's needs or the group's voice. A small little tip that can have a massive impact that will change how the group members engage in your groups. All right, please feel free to give us any comments or questions that you might have. Those of you that are keen to attend one of our workshops, please feel free to reach out at OTGrow@gmail.com so that we can send you available dates. And in the meantime, happy facilitating.